Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Safe Room. I'm your host, Shon Williams. Today we have a very special episode. You guys know about the official track of the podcast, First Lady. We're gonna break it down all aspects. And today I have a very special guest. This man helped me with the track. This dude is behind the beautiful aesthetic, the sound behind it. This dude is amazing. Ricky Smalls, man. How are you doing,
Eh,
man?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for the amazing intro, man. I feel like, whoa, who is this? Who's this man who was helping you? I never get intros like that. Anyway, yeah, it's nice. It's nice to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good to be on your show.
Yeah,
It's
for
nice.
sure, man. So today we're gonna talk about it. Everyone's been asking about like, oh, Sean, can you do a breakdown of this song? And like, in time. I was gonna get to it. The time is right. We're gonna talk about, the process of the song, how it came to be, the origins. We're gonna talk about, Ricky, obviously about you, the work that you've done. I have a couple questions for you as well. And we'll see how the conversation goes. There may be like times we might dip into other topics as well, depending, because I do have a couple stuff written down, like on men's. I think it's Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, so we may talk about that as well for a brief moment. But hey, let's get to you. So Ricky, for all the people who are listening, tell them like specifically what you do, but more importantly, why you have such a passion for the art that you do as well.
Oh yeah. It will be a pleasure to talk about that. It's always I've never actually sat down to plan like how it all happened and what to say when it comes to that, but I'll do my best to explain how I got into it. So, like I said from the beginning, when we started this conversation, it was more of like a curiosity and an adventure. I was attracted to snare drums when I was a kid because of
Mm,
the vibrations it made. It sounded it's like a shake and a hit at the same time. So I've been always wondering how I could achieve that sound without having the actual snare drum, spending a lot of money to
okay.
get that because it's not like I couldn't get access to it. I just couldn't wait for my dad to get it.
Mm,
And where I grew up, I didn't grow up from a poor family in Africa. Um, my dad was very much okay, but it takes time for him to get it. So what I would do is I would usually get the cookie pan. I don't know, it's like a British brand.
yeah. I think I know what you're
Yeah,
talking about.
yeah, it's like a silver, or I don't know what they used to make these things, but it sounds really great if you put like marbles in it and you hit it. It sounds just like a snare drum.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that's what I started using for my snare drums when I was a kid, and my dad realized that yeah, I was like a sound geek, and so for me, every day was just like I said, it was like an adventure trying to figure out what could happen if I added this sound and that sound. Would it sound like that kick that I heard on the radio or that
Right.
snare that I heard? Yeah. So it was like an adventure. I didn't even know I was learning until people started coming to me and be like, "Yo, that thing you did, can you do that for me too?" And I'm like, "Oh,
Mm,
whoa, you think it's cool?" They're like, "Yeah, it sounds great." And then I started, yeah, and that's how I started. So
wow. That
yeah,
that's so that's I find that crazy how like that story where you and the cookie pan and you put the marbles in and you just started like it had that snare drum sound to it. That is
yeah.
something I have never heard of, and it sounds creative. And honestly, I feel like the next time I'm gonna have to buy one of those pans to like try myself, because like I do have like a can full of marbles. So like, hey, like I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah, yeah, try that. It's a British brand. It actually looks like a snare drum.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it in Walmart and stuff here. It always reminds me of that. It's like butter cookie. I've forgotten the brand, but yeah, I would always use that for my snare drum and hit the tables for my kick and different types of tables actually. because they all have
Right.
different sounds. Yeah. So
And
that's how I got into it.
yeah,
Then
that's great. Like, and I think the beauty about like sound and music is like you can really like achieve it with anything, you know.
anything, yes, yeah, that's true.
It's like
Anything.
no matter what, it's like anything like you use is an instrument, and it's surprising because people feel like, oh, when it comes to music, like the very beginnings of it, when you kind of have a passion for like producing or like engineering, it's like, oh, you've had to like take like a master class or like you had to have like full on experience. It's like there are some people that are just like, listen, bro, like I had a thing for sounds and everything. Like I love how you explain like at a young age you were able to hear snare drums. That was the same for me. Like, see me, like
Hmm.
when everyone was like listening to songs and like jamming out, I was like going into details. I'm like, okay, like where are the hi hats? Like where's the bass kicking in? Like, how's it sounding? Or there's like any little extra instruments playing in the background. I was always looking at like at those type of tendencies. And people are like, you're doing too much. And it's like, no, it's just I'm actually just appreciating the music for what it is, you know? So I find it great that people, still don't understand that you listen, although like music is music and obviously we all have our own ways of expressing it, those who
Hmm.
really appreciate music are the ones that like go deeper than just like, oh, what content is being said or like what the overall beats. They go down to like every different aspect. And you at such a young age where you kind of picked up stuff like on snare drums and you kind of applied it to something like, hey, like I want to have that intricate focus with my music as well.
Yeah,
A lot of people can't say that.
yeah. It's more like the curiosity, right? Once something like troubles your mind, and you want to figure out how these things come about. You find ways. Sometimes you don't even go out of your way. You discover it by accident, right? It could be that something fell and the sound that it made, you'd be like, whoa, this sounds like the snare drum I heard in Dirty Diana. So that is how I actually discovered that that
Oh.
pan makes the snare drum sound. If you listen to Michael Jackson's Dirty Diana, the
Mhm.
snare drums, yeah, it sounds like that jar of the cookie jar that I'm talking about.
Mm.
So when I heard that, I'm like, whoa, I could make my own version of that song with that. And from there, I tried to put in marbles and then sometimes put water in it and then it, just hear how it sounds. So, like you said, it's not something that you really need to um, take a master class. I mean, that is also important because you always
Yeah.
learn from people's ideas, right? Other people's ideas. So taking classes like that would also definitely help, but you don't need it because the sound is usually I envy people who have their own sound.
Mm.
They have the sound within them. They don't sound like anything that you've heard of. They don't try to sound like anyone else. They just do whatever that comes to them. And these are the people that I call they have the thing. I don't know what it is, but I just call it a thing. It just it comes to you. It
Yeah.
comes to you, and from there on, whatever you do, it just sounds amazing from there on.
Right. Like, listen, all the people out there that find their own sounds, like, yo, like, big up yourself. And Ricky, like, even though you're talking about, like, oh, you envy, I put you in that category too, because listen, man, like, before we met and, like, we really got into, like, the track, which we'll talk about very soon, I did take a look at your music and I was just like, yo, like this is not what you hear like on the radio or on like TikTok when it comes to like, oh, what's popping like right now. Like your music is definitely it has its originality. So like even though you're talking about you envy people, like you're in that category. In my view, you are.
Oh, yeah, thanks. I still see it as me still being on a journey to discover more sounds that I don't even know exist yet, or more melodies, or more ways to make music that
Mm.
I I feel like. never heard before. So yeah, I believe that sometimes I see it when I make up sounds and I realize that it sounds different, but it's a vibe.
Yeah.
So yeah, sometimes it happens. And yeah, I think it's still a journey. I'm still curious. I said now, when I heard yours, that's what I was thinking. So you remember when I heard it first time, like
Right.
I was telling you that, yo, we could do a whole lot with this because I was, yeah, it was just me, being
Mhm.
curious about what could happen if we did that and that. And when you came, yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So like, yeah, since we're on the topic of it, so ladies and gentlemen, if you guys don't know, and if you don't know, then something's wrong with you. I do have an official soundtrack, thanks to this man right here, Ricky, producing it, First Lady. And guys, even though this was fun, the process of this was it was so stressful. So little backstory for everyone. So shout out to Lola because she basically let me know about you. We talked,
Yeah,
and at first it wasn't really in person. It was more of like, through WhatsApp. That was like our means of communication. And like the process of it was just so hard because it's like we both had our different takes of it, but it's like, oh, when you respond, I'm in class. Or when I get to respond, oh, you're working. So it's like it was so hard to like really get on like just a time where we can both like really sit down and discuss the track. Like, I mean,
yeah, exactly.
you can share your experience of just how it was and how it was just so stressful.
Yeah, for me, it's I've been through that a couple of times. So it was one of those days for me. It was just normal. Usually that's what happens. On During the creative process, it's a clash of a lot of ideas from different people. So when geniuses meet, everyone has a lot of ideas. And so that ideas sometimes when it's not communicated properly, then there is that back and forth. Oh, I would like to do this and that, do this and that, until we actually meet like we did, and then figure out, okay, this is what you actually wanted and that. Because
Mm,
yeah, the ideas like it's like a thousands of different ways that you could use to achieve something, and you are thinking about 500 of those. I'm also thinking about, let's say, 200 of those. And when that happens, that that's when the stress thing that you're talking about happens. That's from my little bit of experience that I've had. I've always had to do that, and I believe that if there are a lot of like musicians listening to your podcast, they would agree to this. It
yeah.
always happens. Yeah, it always happens.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
lot for sure. And I know probably the relationship as well between like the artist, the producer is again like a tricky thing to like manage as well because like have you ever been in situations where like you've heard a track and it's like, look, and like again, this was common between me and you. Like, look, I don't want to change it because I know this is your idea, but like it would sound better if you went this direction or you did this or you add that or you tweak this. Like has there been moments where like it's just things got super heated. I don't want you to put names or blast anyone. I'm just like asking you based on your personal experience. You had like those countless, interactions with the artists in terms of like, oh, you guys are kind of debating like with your own ideologies of like, oh, I want it to sound like this, but like it's better if you go in this direction.
oh yeah, yeah. I've had that couple of times. It happens. I'm just trying to think of a scenario. Yeah, it happens a lot. But the main thing that I've seen, it's like a pattern that I've seen, is that with time I've realized that the artist is just trying to get the best that they could from the idea, the vision that they have for the song. And as a producer, I'm trying to get the same thing for them. So when I realized that, I came to the conclusion that since we are all aiming towards the same goal, which is making the track as dope as it can get, I just let the artist put down all the ideas that they have, Then I open a new channel. Then I put down all the ideas that I have. Then I sit down with the artist. Then I get them to choose what they think will best fit. I think I
Mm.
did that with yours as well. So
Yes.
they would choose which one best fit, which one they think matches the vision that they have. So once they are happy with it, then we stick to what they are happy with. Because
Right.
yeah, sometimes the artist carries the vibe, and as a producer, the tricky thing is you don't always catch the vibe on the go. It sometimes it takes a while before you be like, oh, so this is what you're trying to do,
Mhm.
right? So I always let the artist take the lead. There have been times where communication didn't work well because so you work with people from different background. I've worked with people came from the street and
Mm.
they are used to having their way with a fight, with being dominant.
Mhm.
Street life is either my way or nothing. I've had people like that, and it took me a while to calm them down and be like, look, I just want the best for you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you're used to that kind of life, but once they hear those words and they understand that I just want them to win, then that's when we are always able to work together from that angle, right? So
Right.
yeah, it's all about that. And then I must admit there have been times where I've had to refer artists to other producers because I was just not getting the best from
Mm.
them. Yeah, I wasn't able to bring out the best from them, so I will refer them to other producers, and
Mhm.
hopefully those guys can help him or her out.
Right.
Yeah, so
That
yeah,
makes
just how.
sense. And see, that's the
Yeah.
thing. Like, I think for me, like when I first like got in contact with you and even in person, I kind of knew my role because I'm like, look, I just want a soundtrack for a podcast. Like, I'm not a full on musician, so like I had like in from my moral perspective, I had
Mm-hmm.
no right to like go off on you like, oh my god, this is trash. It's not what I want. I wasn't trying to
Mm-hmm.
be like a spoiled brat because I'm like, I'm probably gonna do this once and the only time. So it's like whatever I get, it's like, listen, at least I got the support from you, and like I'm grateful for that. But I totally get your aspect where like people are like they want to be dominant, and there's like, yo, it's like it's my way. It's like, listen, I give you a task, like just do it, like don't mess it up. And it's like there
Mm-hmm.
has to put so much pressure on the producer too, because it's like I get it. You want to be like, okay, we want to create that vision, but at the same time, it's like, look, I may not get everything to like a T. Maybe there's like one or two minor details that I leave out. Like, are you gonna complain it because of that? Because you still probably have like most of the vision there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like I definitely like get how it was because like the issue when we put the track together was it was the guitar. I know you said like
Mm-hmm.
it had a lot of like static and just like the sound of it wasn't there. And like I
Mm-hmm.
was thinking of it too. I'm like, okay, what do we do? And then we met in person, and then I don't know if you turned it down a key. I think you turned it down a key, and like from there I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, we found it. This is it. This is the sound, right? So it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
sometimes it's good from the artist, to hear some feedback and criticism, like some obviously like good criticism from the producer because again, it's like I'm not telling you to like don't your vision doesn't matter like cuz like I'm the one that's behind the panel doing everything like that. It's like no, it's like I want to help you too. It's just like, it may not be too like perfect cuz I think everyone can agree no song is ever perfect sometimes to the artist. It's like, oh, it could be better. But it's like, you
Mm-hmm.
understand that. And it's like, okay, look, even though it can't be perfect, let's try to give the most it could possibly be out of it. So,
Yeah, yeah, that's true what you're saying. But I think that what happened with your track is when you came in, you allowed the song to tell you what to do. So it wasn't you trying to get the song to like tell the sound what to do. So I remember when you came and we listened to the guitar for a while, and I kept on telling you that there is a frequency where I feel like is kind of getting in the way of making the sound easy on the ear.
right.
And so I figured, okay, let's try to bring the key down a bit and see.
Mhm.
And the moment you heard it, you're like, this is it. So when you heard it, you liked it. And so you're like, okay, I'm just gonna leave it like that. And this is the sound. This is what I'm going to go with.
Right.
So that was the sound. You now allowing the sound to tell you what to do. Because I think when you heard it, it felt good. It was easy on your ear and it was calm. So you like that.
Mhm.
And you're like, okay, I'm just gonna let you be. Now I'm just gonna let you be in this state. Then we move on from there. So and that's the beauty of it. When the sound comes and you hear it, and you let the initial vision that you had compare it with that, and then choose. And I think that's what you did. You, I'm not sure if that's that, but I remember when you heard it, you were like, "This is it.
Yeah, because you know
This is
what?
the sound."
Even like the add-ons and everything, like I there was so much add-ons like before we met in person, and like even
Mm-hmm.
then I was like, nah, it's like something about it. Like again, the frequency it was off, and then the minute you turned down the key, it got rid of
Mm-hmm.
that frequency. It was like I don't even need this add-on. I don't need this. It's like now it's simple. Because another issue for me was the drums. Like,
Yeah.
guys, again, guys, I want to make this clear to everyone listening. I am not a producer, so my drums maybe to me were like okay, but to anyone who's like a producer or engineer like Ricky, it's kind of like okay, like is something's not right. It's just like, and again, like it wasn't right. And then like once we figured it out in person, it's like okay, now the drums mean so much more. And again, you don't need to put this. Like I think there was like moments I had like stems of like synth in there, piano, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
I'm doing way too much. I'm like, this ain't no orchestra. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah. And believe me when I say that what you went through is really common. Is It happens all the time with a lot of artists that I've had the chance to work with. Um, it's very common, very
Mm-hmm.
very common when um you have a lot of ideas, you put everything down, and then you start taking the best out of it, like you did. You don't,
Mm-hmm.
maybe I don't need this synth, maybe I don't need this piano. So it was good. It was good. What I like most about how you came to conclusion with the final work is you allowed it, right? You allowed
Mm-hmm.
it once you realize that, okay, now I'm cool with how the guitars is sounding. Okay, so now I'm gonna allow the piano to mute for a bit, like allow the synth to keep quiet for a bit, and now figure out the drums. So you allow the process and the music to just come out on its own,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it's a melody. Usually, once you get in the zone, you start hearing it. You
Mm-hmm.
start hearing it like someone is. It's almost like someone is playing it to you. So
Right.
yeah, so when once you hear it, you're like, oh, this is it. This is it right there. Because it's like almost you've already heard it before. So once it comes in the song, it's like that. This is the sound. Feels good. Keep
Right.
it there. Exactly. So
Yeah.
I remember you allowed it to take place. I had a couple of ideas, like the backups that I added to it, and I did them and sent it to you, and then asked if you were cool with them. If not, I did a couple of them, but once you were okay with those ones, I just left those ones there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, uh, basically that's how I work.
Yeah, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. And like I have to ask because I actually didn't get to ask you when you finally handed the whole thing in. The vocals, was that you at the beginning? Because like I'm
Oh
like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. That was me.
yo,
I
I love how like you inserted yourself because honestly, it made everything so much better. And even that breakdown section, I think it was after I did the chorus the second time, just it fades in with a banana look, I was like, wait a second now. I'm like, yo, this should be like Grammy nominated. Like, what the heck?
Oh man, yeah. And also to your listeners, I do that. I do that a lot. Like once I'm listening to your track and I hear it needs a backup, it need a vocal here and there, I would go ahead and do it and then let you decide if you want to keep it or not. sometimes I have a female vocalists. I invite them to do it. It's just a plus. It's something that I do um, most of the time for free. Sometimes our artist requires it, and so we have to pay somebody special to do it. And
Mhm.
sometimes I just add it up because why not? It's music. It's demanding it. It's asking for it.
Yeah.
So if you could do it, you just do it. If not, you just leave it.
Yeah, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. No, it sounded great. Like your vocals, it added so much life to it because like it was already like, oh my god, it's a vibe. It's very like settled down. But then when you came in, I was like, bro, like honestly, like my sister heard it for the first time and she's like, was that the dude Ricky? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, yo, like you just made the
Uh,
track like 10 times better.
uh, that's great. That's great to hear that. I'm actually happy that you were satisfied with what you got, and that is the main goal.
Dude, are you kidding
Is
me? Like every time I get the chance, I'm anyone I meet in terms of like friends, I let them know and I play the song right in front of them. I don't care, man. Like some people when they've dropped a track, they're so like embarrassed, like I don't want to play. Me, I'm the opposite. I'm like, yo, go listen to my track. Like go listen to it. Tell me what you think. And like, bro, I make sure to let people know, like, yo, like I didn't produce this. Like a great dude called Ricky Smalls, man. He was
Ah,
behind
man,
this.
thanks for that. Thanks for that. Thanks for the marketing, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, man. Your track turned out quite dope, and I'm glad that we both agree that it's dope. Because sometimes it happens too, where the artist may think it's dope, and I feel like, maybe we could add more, or I think it's dope, and the artist is like, nah, I'm not feeling it. But
Mm-hmm.
this time around, we all agree that okay, this is the sound. We both connected to it in that sense.
Right.
So yeah,
It was a
yeah, it was
really
a
dope track.
journey.
It was a
Yeah.
dope track for sure. So I mean, Ricky, like I'm just curious, like, so do you ever take the time to tell yourself maybe you want to like make your own music, you know?
Oh yeah, about that. Yeah, I have. I have a lot of music. I make it. I never just put them out like market them on a large scale, but I do share some on YouTube and
Mm,
SoundCloud and yeah, Reverb Nation and stuff. Um, yeah, for me. I don't know if I ever told you that I never actually made it a plan to learn it. It was curiosity and
yeah,
like passion and the idea of trying to see if I
self-taught
could,
basically.
yeah, yeah, if I could do the same thing that I've been hearing on the radio and on TV and what could happen, just trying to figure out how things could happen if you try them. And so,
Right.
yeah, along the line, I made a couple of songs. I still make them here and there. I have, yeah, just like any other artist, I do have quite a lot of them. I just
Mhm.
never, yeah,
So
never
like with
market
with
them.
going on to that, you being self-taught, like, how do you compare that to someone, who's probably had like took experience when they were young to like understand, the mechanics of, producing and engineering and mastering? Like how would you like compare something? And if you can't compare, like how do you feel like, there's a distinction between someone who is self-taught versus someone who's educated?
Okay, so the only distinction between that is that I can think of is if you are educated in that field, but it's not something that you're curious about or you were really excited about. And then you become
Mm.
somebody with a lot of skills, but less creativity, right?
Oh
So
wow. That
that is
that
the only distinction.
That's strong. That is really strong right there.
Yeah, that is the only distinction. So those producers who are educated and they know what they are about, but they don't really have the excitement or the creativity to it. They are really good with technical solutions when there is, for instance, there are like frequencies fighting over, and then you are able to communicate to them what exactly you want them to do. They are really great at it. but sometimes it's really difficult for them to connect to your vision and bring out what you are thinking in your head, the type of feeling you're trying to communicate, because they don't have that, and it's not their fault. They have all the skills, but they don't have the creative aspect of it. So sometimes it becomes difficult. I've worked with a lot of great educated producers who know a lot more than I do, because they've had a chance to study with people who've had 30 years of experience in the production field, and you can't match that.
Mhm.
So they have the skill, but they don't know what to do with it. They not like they don't know what to do with it. That's kind of offensive. They are kind of limited with what they could do with it,
Yeah, with their
or
like with their
sometimes it,
their critical thinking basically in the
ye-
sense of like how more can you put into like, a sound or like an instrument or just a beat overall.
yeah, and sometimes they have all the ideas. They know all the things. They just can't. They don't. They underestimate what they're doing. Sometimes they be creating really good stuff, really dope, out of this world stuff, and they don't even know. Sometimes I work with them like, do you know what you just did? They're like, man, I do this all the time. What is it? I'm like, yo, if you add this with that and this and that, we could create some really crazy stuff.
Mhm.
And then we get to it, and they're like, oh wow, yeah, this is actually true. Like, so that is how I picked up that little distinctions. I'm sure other producers have also picked up these distinctions with people who are really educated in the production field, but
Right.
are not really. Yeah. So that is the only difference. Apart from that, it is all very important. Being educated, being self-taught, v- equally important in my opinion.
So would you say in a sense like are we talking about all people who are educated or is it kind of like majority of people?
It's just it's an individual thing.
Okay.
I know people who are like very talented and are educated too, and woo, you know what that mixture is. That's a really deadly combination,
Mhm.
because they are talented and they're educated as well. And then there
Mhm.
are the people who are just educated, they're really skilled in the field, but they're not talented.
Yeah.
So it's not like when that happens, it means they are not dope. They are very dope with the right people around them. So
Yeah.
yeah, that that's why I think that both of that is really important and is needed as well. So
Mhm.
it's like they work hand in hand,
Right.
basically.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah. Again, I'm pretty sure you weren't like generalizing all people who are educated because there are people who are talented and educated. And again, that
yeah,
is a deadly combination. You
yeah, yeah,
probably there's probably some of your favorite artists like you see today that have that type of skill, or have that combination. So for sure,
yeah.
man. But yeah, it kind of want to switch gears a bit. We're gonna still stay on music, but like I feel like I wrote this down last minute because of the announcement. So I think last night the Grammys
Mhm.
2022 2022 nominations came out. And again, I've talked about on the show on the podcast about music award shows and like the prestige of it. So again, I know we talked about, you like the song, we First Lady as a whole, but I kind of want to just go into like music overall, general. So like and specifically award shows. Like, have you felt that, over the past few years, after year, shows like the Grammys, the Billboard Awards, like, and I don't even know if you are even like a music award show guy. Like, are you a guy that kind of pays attention to the award shows?
Yeah, I used to though, but I've over the years, since hearing the rumors about people and the politics behind it, I got less and less interested in it. Although I don't really know the truth in those,
Mm,
but
yeah.
I've been able to see or meet artists who have experienced these politics behind it, and they've told me about how basically you have to be in a certain circle and you have to get your song in a certain circle and know a certain type of people or market for you to be able to get in these type of awards.
Right.
So it's basically it, to me it sounded as if, oh, it all depends on if they like you.
Right,
If those
exactly.
organizing the award like you, that's number one. Two, if you've made some impact in their market somehow and they just decide to award you. So yeah, when I was a kid growing up, I thought awards were given based on the overall impact, like the general worldwide impact that the person has made. But I don't know if you
Yeah.
agree with me.
No,
It's not always the
oh,
case.
100%. Everything you said. That's even what I've talked about in the podcast. Like there is like, political agendas behind these things because I think
Hmm.
one of the funniest like running jokes, especially with the Grammys, is like one thing that you can guarantee with the Grammys is a her nomination. 'Cause I think she has like
Hmm.
8 nominations this year. And like I'm not trying to be a her hater. Like she is a fantastic musician, but it feels like every year she's always nominated because I don't think she even dropped that much in terms of music last year, but she was like still racking up nominees. I think like what's it? Beyonce I think has like all time 62 Grammy nominations. At the
Hmm.
age of 24, her already has 23. Which is like it again, I totally get that aspect of like, the political conspiracies. That's why, the weekend, I think what happened last year, he wasn't nominated for a Grammy and everyone was like confused because like, yo, how come the weekend didn't get nominated? Like his album that he dropped was fantastic. And I think he went on record to say, I don't want none of my songs like being associated with the committee. I'm boycotting it. And you're seeing that from artists too. Like some are just boycotting it. I don't know if you saw the clip. I think it was what Kanye throwing his Grammy in the toilet, and then like
Yeah,
the
I didn't see that.
yeah, like he was pissing on the Grammy, like it didn't
Whoa.
matter. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So
so I totally get that aspect. Like you're not even wrong. It's a truthful thing. But again, I don't know how far it goes to an extent. Maybe
exactly.
so I don't want to just say off of speculation like that, like, oh, it's true. It's like, but no, it's out there. I feel
Yeah, it's
like
out there. There's some sort of
yeah,
truth to
like
it.
I feel like how it works too. It's like if you're nominated for like one of the top awards, like let's say like album of the year, most likely you're gonna get nominated for record of the year or single of the year. And like it's true. Like some if you look at those like the nominees for those three categories, record of the year, single of the year, album of the year, it's the same people.
Yeah, the
So
same people. Eh, not to mention awards with the title um best this or that in the world or best this in the world. And I ask which part of the world? Because sometimes we hear names and we are in like in Africa, we never heard of these people.
yeah,
And they're talking about world, like who competed with them?
right.
So that's when I began to feel like, yeah, awards are great once you get it, especially for your, what's it called? Your worth as an artist and how
Mm-hmm.
people, your brand. But I don't know how it's become now. I don't know about
It's
the,
it's just
yeah,
been it's just again, and that's just the awards itself in terms of like the distribution of like the nominees and the award. The actual show itself, it's like it has no prestige. Like the performances feel lackluster. I think I've talked on the podcast that these bigger like outdoor concerts like Rolling Loud, Lollapalooza, Coachella, they're more important at this point than like the Grammys, the Billboard Awards, the AMAs, the BET Awards. It's sad.
yeah, man. Is that is something that I even have to look at more like research on what's going on, because for some time now I have been disconnected to it, especially with the new politics that recent politics that has been surrounding it, with artists choosing not to be part of it, or yeah, it kind of, to me, doesn't sound it doesn't look like it's really natural no more. It doesn't look like it's authentic.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
it
looks,
doesn't feel you don't get that same feeling like when you hear like oh the Grammys are coming. Like you don't get excited. Like I used to get so excited as a kid, and again like I was young, so I didn't know what was happening behind the scenes. But like even
yeah,
now, when I hear it, I'm just kind of like shrugging it off as like okay, whatever. You know, and like I don't want to
yeah,
feel that. Like, and I'm pretty sure don't want to feel that too, because there's some artists that's like I'm not going, because like they're like you know what, I'm more concerned about oh, how much streams did I get on Spotify or like how many downloads I get on Apple Music rather than like winning a Grammy that's been like one of the most prestigious awards in music.
yeah, yeah. It has, and again, I don't blame them, because really, a friend of mine, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and it was about something about the markets, and the idea of competition, and the competition surrounding us as a community. I mean, the world population itself, the community, and the capitalist system itself. I'm not trying to vie towards there, but the competition, the capitalism competition itself, it's kind of has infiltrated everything, infiltrated churches. It
Right.
has been in music since the beginning of pop industry. And so, with that in perspective, one wouldn't expect it to be natural.
Yeah.
It's an unhealthy competition that can be won with money.
Right.
So it becomes not about talent no more. It becomes, so it's pretty much in the right lane of where it is,
It really
about
is.
the politics that it is, because it's now about how much money are you willing to spend to put yourself out there, how much money are you willing to spend to put yourself in the right circle and get connected to the right people.
Mhm.
And it's always been like that if you look at it. And so if you look at it from that, I think it's not far from where it's supposed to be.
Right, exactly. Like there, it's again, it's just like this model of efficiency. Like you know, if I could like go for this specific market, this specific group, and like I'm
Yeah.
able to kind of like maximize everything I could. No, I totally get it.
Hmm.
There is capitalist like intentions and tendencies with that. You know, artists are gonna like focus to those type of audience. Like you know, there's like a certain demographic that people are like tuning into my music. I'm going in for that. Like, and I don't care if like old heads are saying like, why don't you say something that's meaningful? Because it's working for me. You see, like all the people connected to my music. Why am I gonna change my style and then have it to dip into a demographic that I'm not so aware about? When I have like
Yeah.
this big, I got a whole following and everything. You know, that's what like some people I hear the excuse. And again, I'll put my hand up. There are times I listen to music and I'm like, yo, can these guys like do more than just say the same shit? And I think to myself, but you know what? Why would they want to change? Again, it's not natural, but and it's to them, it's like it's working. I'm getting my
Yeah.
bag.
Yeah. It's not until recently that platforms like TikTok and Instagram and all these new platforms helping music blow naturally. Because once a TikTok dance is developed for your song, or a TikTok trend is developed for your song, then you have a chance of naturally blowing up.
Mhm.
But since then, it's always been about how much money are you willing to pump into your song to put it out there, put it in the faces of these kids. Because I think it's one of the reasons why we don't see a lot of really great songs make it to mainstream. And like you said,
Mhm.
it appears as if it's working, but is it really working,
There
or
there's
is it?
there's an algorithm that works the way it kind of depicts which music or what sound is what for like the majority. So when the algorithm starts to work, it starts to bypass certain lanes where like, certain tracks are able to go to like those radio stations where others it's like, oh, you know what, you don't have the type of sound we're looking for. You're gonna go underground, you know. Like I
Mm-hmm.
guarantee you, music has, and that I think that's also why music has been more diverse and it keeps becoming so diverse because I guarantee you some people could like list out like, some of the bigger names like, oh, I listen to, the Drakes, the Little
Mm-hmm.
Babies, the Doja Cats or whatever. But then it's like you also know it's like, oh, you listen to like these artists, like I never heard about them. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like you actually listen and like on a comparison level, it's like, yo, like this one's like making better music in terms of just like quality than some of
Mm-hmm.
these top artists is. But again, the algorithm works in such a way where it's like, listen, it's majority's votes, their choice. If it's not kind of surrounding to this type of sound, then it's like you're probably not gonna hear it unless you're gonna be like a one hit wonder that maybe it hits to some people. Then fine, but other than that, like you're not gonna be meant to kind of maneuver around it.
Yeah. Yeah, I was asking myself the same question about talking about the algorithm thing. I was asking myself the same question about how is that working? Because look, I grew up in Ghana, and since the early 2000s, I've always known people in like other African countries who were making great music, like great music. Akon would tell you. Before
Mm-hmm.
Akon blew up, he knew this. He knew all these artists that he later on, when he made money, tried to sign them and all that. He knew it. But again, coming to the capitalist world, which country was leading? It's US.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever happens in US, the rest of the world follow. And excuse me to use the word, the word, US wasn't really fucking with Africa. I'm not even
Mm-hmm.
going to play victim card here, but we all know this. Like
Yeah.
African music, the Afro beats, Afro pop, high life, all of that, it wasn't popping in US market until 2015 or
Facts.
2014.
Yeah.
After Westgate featured Drake, and they're like, okay, let's listen to these guys.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they're paying attention to them. And then TikTok comes, and now the African songs that is blowing up on TikTok that
It's
I'm
memes.
hearing, yeah, like the recent Nigerian guy that got like blew up on TikTok. He is new. Even the Nigerian music industry didn't know him,
Mm-hmm.
and most Africans didn't know him. And then suddenly he has a hit on TikTok, and now he's a big guy. And there are other Ghanaian musicians who are not really big in Ghana, but they are really huge on TikTok. And because of
Mm-hmm.
that, it has translated to their YouTube and other places. And so I haven't really looked into that, but I'm wondering if not for this, whatever algorithm it is that's going on TikTok or YouTube or whatever the platform may be, these
Mm-hmm.
artists didn't have a chance. But you hear them, you've known they're great. Um,
Right.
Not to cut you short, in 2013 when I first came, it was actually 2014 that I came here. I was telling my nephews when I came and I heard the music on the radio, and I mean the Canadian music, not to talk down on Canadian music and US music, the ones that was on the mainstream, at least. I was telling my nephew, I'm like, this is what you guys listen? And he's like, yeah, this is what is hot right now. That time, I'm telling you, Drake and Wizkid wasn't out. Nobody knew about Wizkid here. Nobody
Mm-hmm.
knew about all the African Davido. Nobody knew about them over here.
Listen,
Only Les
man.
Little.
Listen, I feel like if it's something where I invite you back on the podcast and talk about this as a topic
Okay.
itself,
All
please,
right.
because I don't think people are ready for this, especially because I know a lot of like Africans like that are just like they won't admit it. They're like, oh, it's been popping. They're like, no, it hasn't. Not on like North America.
No, not on North America. Not at all. Yeah, I told him about Wizkid. I'm like, if you guys hear about Wizkid, you're gonna fall in love with that guy. If this is what you're listening to, he's able to do these songs too. And he's like, nah, they're not gonna like African music. Few months later, Drake gets him on a song, and everybody wanna dance to I needed one dance. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, you like it? And
Yeah.
he's like, yeah,
What else? Oh, what's it? Baby, come close, I like. I
yeah.
remember when that came out, people were going insane.
Insane. I'm like, whoa, whoa. I was just saying this to my nephew. I didn't even know it would come to pass. But then here we are, and people are like crazy about it, and then they start checking out on Burner Boy,
Burner
checking out on
Boy,
P Square, Two
yo,
Face, all of them. I'm like, whoa, this is actually
wow.
happening. I never thought it would. And so yeah, I think that now with the coming of maybe these NFTs and crypto and all that, maybe all artists now have a fair chance of making it
Mm,
because there's
yeah,
less control, there's less manipulation. I believe and I'm hoping that there will be less manipulation with the coming of the blockchain, blockchain technology. I'm hoping that with that, all every artist, no matter who you are, we all have an equal chance of making it. So yeah.
yeah. So no, that's a 100%. Just kind of want to switch gears a bit. This month is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. I know people have been probably wondering why I haven't talked about this, guys. I've been busy, okay, but we're gonna talk about it now, okay. So I mean personally, just to kind of give my take before I get to you, Ricky. For people who don't believe that men doesn't deal with mental health like we do, everyone does, but I find it very interesting, like with mental health, especially for my personal experience. I've always been one person that is like so afraid to kind of express like my mental health, whether it's like my emotions or how I'm feeling, because like there's just
Hmm.
like always something that's like if I express myself, like, are you going to like let me in and accept me and be like, okay, you know what, like let's talk about it. Like, how do you feel? How are there certain things that are just going through your head that you can't explain? And like again, I kind of feel like it ties back, and again, I could be wrong. This is just me going on a hunch. It could be just off of just like this mask that, especially for black males, where like if you express like feelings and emotions, then it kind of makes you like less of a man. Like you're kind of weak. It's just like you're supposed to be tough. You're supposed to have like this like raw rigor figure about yourself, where you need to be like, oh, like I don't show no emotions, I don't show no feelings. Like I gotta show my dominance, my presence, and everything. But like again, it's a nasty stereotype, toxic masculinity. Like I don't know. Like I feel like from that alone, especially, and this is coming from someone that I don't even think I apply toxic masculinity at any time. That's not me.
Hmm.
But even still, I'm telling myself like, yo, I just don't feel comfortable sharing like my thoughts because it's just like it's hard, especially if you're around like your friends. They'll
Hmm.
probably be joking around like, "Ah, bro, you're just an idiot, man. Like whatever." Like and like again, I'm laughing with them, but like really inside, I'm just like, "Nah, for real. Like, can we talk about it?" It's just like I don't. It's hard, and it just it puts a stranglehold on yourself, and it's like I can't express it to like my friends. So like, do I go to my
Yeah.
family? And like, even if my family like maybe they can answer some of the things that I'm going through, because like yeah, they're my family, but it's like maybe they can't answer certain questions that other people could probably answer. So like that's me personally. I mean, Ricky, if you're comfortable, again, if you're comfortable sharing, that's
Oh
cool. If
yeah,
not,
yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely what you're saying is true about that. I did not actually look at it as with the lens of like or from the perspective of masculinity and the toxicity of it. But you're right. It's if you look at it, it is toxic masculinity. Because but then again, I don't even know the solution to it because or I don't even think anybody has the solution to it. Pretty much by the time we get to this age, we've already been beaten up. into accepting that we cannot show any emotions um as men. We can't we can't talk about these problems that happen to us, because then you're being overreactive or you're being overprotective. But yeah, it does happen to us.
Yeah.
I'm very sure that every guy has gone through that phase or that situation where they've had to deal with something that pertains to that.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
and you've been forced to just keep it to yourself and not share it with friends, because what you said, they're going to judge you, your friends are going to judge you. And they're not even doing it on purpose. Some of them, they're not even aware of what they're doing,
Right.
because when it happens to them, they also hide in their houses and cry, and then they need help. And some of them, they end up doing messed up stuff to themselves because they can't handle it. And some of them, they meet you and they start venting, different behaviors
Mhm.
about it. But then when if the topic comes up, if you ask them to have a conversation about it, oh man, this is just too emotional, this is too, and then they try to brush it off. But we all know it's like a bro code. We all know that this is true. It
Mhm.
happens to all of us. We all deal with it. We just, some of us are better at hiding it than others, but every guy deals with this.
Mhm.
Yeah, we all deal with it. I just believe that we all deal with it.
Right.
And it does affect us.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
does.
Yeah, it does have an impact, and I think, you know, I think because you mentioned something very interesting. You said like, it's something that we've tried to solve, but like, it's just it's something that's gonna be like a reoccurring problem. Just so now it's like, okay, how do we like at least destigmatize it? Like try to make sure that these glaring problems aren't so glaring that we're able to kind of dial it down a bit. So like, do you think it's in the representation of like a safe space, maybe providing resources for males, something like that? Because I think that would be like a great way to kind of just, it could even be something like maybe that's just for self care. I see it a lot, especially for like black women specifically. I don't
Hmm.
think I fear from a black male like, oh, what do you do when like stressed? Oh, self care. I don't hear that. Like nothing at all. At best, they'll be like, yeah, no, whatever. I'll just get over it. And like, I
Yeah.
feel like it's also because they don't know that there are different stuff out there. And I don't want to generalize anything. Probably they do know, but it's probably like, oh, like I can actually do this as well. I thought this was just like for a specific moment or specific situation.
Hmm. Yeah. With that, with the self care, what do you mean? Can you expand on what you mean by self care?
Yeah, so like self care, like maybe it could just be something as like provide a safe space for guys to just kind of like open up, have these conversations. Something that I've kind of created with this podcast is just I
Hmm.
want to create like quote unquote a safe room. And I really try to express it, especially to the guys as well, because there's a lot
Hmm.
of dudes that I've had talks with them. I've ran into guys who've like shared feelings, whether it's personal feelings or like feelings on certain like social issues, you know?
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
like I feel like, when you hear it on like a platform like here where people are allowed to just kind of express themselves, it's
Hmm.
kind of like it feels good to know because it's like, okay, I can just say what I have to say without being judged or ridiculed. So it could be providing a safe space. It could be providing different resources that kind of just accommodate to whatever needs that they have as well. I think
Hmm.
those are just the best way for self care because I know, again, some people might say like, oh, you know what, I'll probably play like a couple, video games or just again, I'll get over it. But it's just like there's probably access to like more stuff, but they're not
Hmm.
aware, or rather, like they know it's out there, but it's like I didn't think this is something that is specified towards me.
Yeah. True. True. Yeah. I You see, this is a really important topic. Is w- listening to you talk about it, I just kept reflecting. And then I realized that there are things that we go through, even as men, that we don't even know that we're going through. Like you said, self-care. I never thought about it that way. Like when I'm dealing with stuff, how do I even solve it? How do I, especially when it's stuff that as a guy, society expects you to come out of it, deal with it on your own and come out of it and by yourself. I've never thought about it that, oh, maybe if there was a safe space to look for ideas or talk to other people and see perspective and see if there could be some way out. I've never actually thought about it that way because
Right.
again, I've been conditioned to be deal with it by myself and deal with it alone. And looking at it right now, reflecting, that's all what I've done. I've dealt with these things alone since I was like a teenager. I had no idea how to deal with these social relationships and like especially with our community as a Ghanaian, because I can't speak for Jamaicans or Nigerians or that. But as a
Right.
Um, Ghanaian male growing up and socializing um, with friends, and the problems that comes with it, I've always had to deal with them myself. Nobody in my family knew I was dealing with it. Sometimes only one particular friend will know I'm dealing with something like that. Um, yeah, I I think what you're saying is actually really, really important that no matter what, um, I think as men, we're just as human as any other person
Right.
out there.
And
So
yeah.
yeah.
And it actually popped in my head too, like maybe another way for self care that I kind of actually seen. Probably people don't acknowledge it, especially a lot of males in terms of self care. Like working out. I do see a lot of people like a lot of guys like when they're mad or like they're just like their minds is not right, they head to the gym and they lift weights and like that's like their kind of their therapy session. For some
Yeah.
of the ladies, it's like, oh, I'm gonna do like a spa day. I'm gonna do this. Like it's like a whole routine. For guys, it's like maybe it's limited stuff that they do. It's like, okay, I'll probably like work out or like probably just get over it. Maybe listen to some music. I know for me, sometimes I'll listen to some music if I'm
Mm-hmm.
really upset. Like I know today I was like really stressed out, so I just told myself, you know what? Let me just calm down. Sometimes I put on like some tracks, kind of cool myself, and that's cool. But
Mm-hmm.
even like in the moment, I'm not realizing like, is this self care? Like, is this like some type of self care that like I'm not acknowledging?
Mm-hmm.
So like, yeah, like
Yeah.
I definitely think that it's a very interesting topic. Maybe it's something that can be extended on another episode, probably.
Definitely, because I've not actually even done the I've not been curious about how we got here as a community and why we're the way we are as men in the society and why we're expected to do what we expected of us. I've not done that research, so it's maybe once I understand how this all happened, then it would give a broader perspective on ways to find self-care,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I don't even know if men in where I come from were expected to do any of what we are expected to do in contemporary times.
Mm,
I don't know if that was what it was, let's say 600 years ago, 700 years ago. I have no idea what changed. I don't know the changes, what has led to that, because I haven't been curious enough when it comes to that.
right.
But
Absolutely.
yeah, but I think that when it comes to that, there is some questions that need answers to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, I
definitely.
we can talk about it on another time. Maybe I have a couple people. It could be something where like we have like a panel of guys and like they can share their experience on that.
Yeah, yeah, I guess. Yeah, it's crazy when you hear men from different communities, like men from let me just say the Caribbean communities, and men from the African community, and then you realize that we all look at these issues differently.
Mhm.
Yeah, we look at them differently, and it just raises thoughts that, so what happened to your community? Why do you guys value this and that and that? Why don't we? And I just think about it to that point, and I just let it be because I'm like, you know what? I'll do that some other day. So I just let it slide and move on with life. But yeah, I think it's time. It's about time that I look at that because who knows? I might get
Yeah.
some inspiration for music
It's
from
time
there.
to do so for sure. So to everyone listening, again, it's Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. Make sure to all the guys out there, make sure you guys are taking care of yourself and that your mental health always comes first. If there's something that's stressing you out, there's something that is just deep on your mind, take the time to just calm and put yourself in a state of like serenity, because this is coming from someone who's in its fourth year in university taking 6 classes. So like I know, like I don't try to
Whoa,
overseduce myself.
whoa, that's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot, and like that's just classes alone. I don't even want to go into the other details, but it's very important that you guys are, you know, supplying yourself with the right state of mind and making sure that your mental health is up to par, because it's a very serious issue. There's people where their mental health is at a low. Some people commit stuff like suicide. Like it's a serious thing. For
Oh
people to
yeah,
say
yeah.
like, oh, like it's only given to specific people. Everyone has mental health, everyone. And
Yep,
depending on the situation, it can probably get worse, and you want to make sure that you're treated at all times. So for the men out there, please prioritize your mental health. I hope you guys are just staying safe and you're putting yourself at best.
definitely,
Yeah, but
definitely, it's needed.
I think we kind of covered everything, man. Ricky, man, thank you for being on the podcast. This was a fantastic talk.
Oh, thanks for inviting me, man.
Yeah,
It's been great being on your podcast.
yeah,
So,
appreciate it, man. Where can the people find you?
yeah, I'm just close to York University. You can hit me up. You can check me up on Google Maps. It's 1618 Music. The Basement Studio. You can find me on there, and you could hit me up. And yeah, we can make some good music together, man.
Hey guys, he's not lying. Like I said, like the birthplace of First Lady started with this man right here. Listen, man.
Mhm.
Look, man. If you're an upcoming artist and you want like a good start, hit up Ricky, man. He's amazing at what he does. He's super talented, and I'm really glad I was able to say
Yeah,
that this track First Lady was produced by him.
yeah. Thanks for the marketing and the hype, man. And yeah, you could pass through anytime. Just hit me up, and we could arrange it and get your stuff done for you. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll make sure you're happy with it. Like,
yeah, listen, man, for sure, appreciate it. But thank you guys for listening to the Safe Room. You guys can check me out on Instagram, the Safe Room Podcast. I'll probably be doing something later on in terms of my songs, maybe like a breakdown of it, more in detail in terms of like the lyrics and stuff for you guys. So make sure you stay tuned for that. But appreciate you guys listening to this conversation, and we'll see you guys next.